Good evening, good evening. Sometimes you sit and wonder why all of these people are still on the same platform, and then you find out one by one that the reason why these people are holding one another up is because they're all doing the same thing. And we're going to dig into Faith Life Church tonight, and we're going to deal with Gary and Drinda Cassie. There's some horrible things to talk about tonight. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us here on the Unction, where we get the Word of God and depend on the Spirit of God to edify the people of God. This is the Unction, and we are going to get into the subject that was spoken of very, very thoroughly by our dear sister Laura Lynn. And I am really having a hard time because this situation is the most identical to what I've experienced in my church life. This is the most identical where I've seen a tyrannical family that did whatever they wanted to do. A tyrannical family. God bless you, Valentina Morales. I love you, my dear sister. I appreciate all my day ones who was here from the very beginning, but I'm having a hard time tonight. It's good to see someone familiar. It encourages me, actually. This has been a long journey. This thing is very heavy, but I'm gonna try to do this and just not lose my cool, because I know what it's like, as I was saying, to have a tyrannical family that could do anything they wanted to do. There was nothing you could do but take it. All you could do was take it. And you try to get the church to stand up. You try to get the church to realize something need to change, but because it ain't me, it don't really matter. But I hope that Faith Life Church would be a better church. I'm asking the people, not the leadership. Y'all money have stuffed their ears. They can't hear. Your leaders can't hear. Y'all money have stuffed their ears shut. I'm hoping you followers, you people, will be better than all of the rest of the churches in America and say, no, we're going to hold our leadership accountable. We hope that you will be an example to the rest of this nation and fight against these tyrannical, out of control leaders who have deceived us with smiles and niceness, smiles and soft demeanors. But in the inside, they're ravenous wolves. They are deeply wicked people. I'm going to show you a video. And you know, we like to talk, and I'm gonna try to break this thing down and get in and get out. Y'all know how I do. But I'm gonna say this. If you have a son that has possibly essayed your daughter, which from all accounts, people are saying is true, your son essayed your daughter according to the allegations. And at the end of you addressing it, you chuckling. What is that a chuckle about? Where's the cry to God? Where are the tears? Lord, save my children. I have a son who is sick. I have a daughter who is broken. And you gonna stand in front of that church with your smiley self and at the end of it chuckle? For those that don't know, I'm already swinging. This thing is crazy. But for those that don't know, there's a friend of Joni's, everyone. Daystar, everyone who came here for Daystar, there's a friend of Joni's. Gary and Drinda Cassie. Gary and Drinda Cassie. Uh, in fact, Drinda Cassie is the one prophesying to Joni to let her know that it's okay for her to be with Doug. But I want to show you some of the ties. Thank you, Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, my dear sister, for putting this thing together. If you want a deep dive, that's where you go. You know how it is. The Unction gives an overview. The Unction gets in and gets out. But I'm telling you, Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, she's on top of this particular situation. I want you all to see it. I'm allowing people to come in. That's why I have a little bit of time here. But let's see this first video so you can see their relationship to Daystar.
Coming up on Marcus and Joni, they're teaching kingdom principles about everything from finances to finding purpose. Gary and Jendika offer real insight for living your best life.
Charisma News shared this story of Doug and Joni's wedding and the supernatural love story of Joni Lamb. So in this article, Joni talks about Drenda.
And she said, you've got to follow the Lord, et cetera, et cetera. And so there were a lot of voices along the way that told me, I love my kids, but I'm not going to go to them for advice on my relationships or decisions I make concerning personal relationships. They're 25 to 30 years behind me. I'm going to go with people who are my age, people like you, people like, in fact, I wrote down all these names of the people. People like Drenda Cassie, who told me that the Lord's about to bring somebody into your life. This was July. He woke me up 3 days ago and said, the Lord said, don't close your heart and don't be afraid.
See, these are the people who have co-signed her wickedness. This is the people who co-sign her sins. And so they're all hanging together. I'm also seeing they're friends with Perry Stone. You're going to even see a connection to Lance Wall now. Here we go.
As you can see, Drenda's show, she has a television show on Daystar, and she has an online show called Drenda on Guard, and she interviews many different folks, including people like Lance Wall now, and she shares with the world different topics and different people that are in ministry.
It's a cabal. This brood of vipers are all in this together, and we're wondering why it's taking so long, because like I told you, when one is totally taken out, it's going to move a lot of them. And that's why they're saying this can't work. Jonathan and Suzy can't be successful. This media attention towards this can't change anything, because if it really hits home, it's going to tear all of us up at one time. And I am telling you, we cannot stop this fight. When I say to like the video, it's not because I'm trying to just beat the algorithm. When I say to subscribe and follow, it's not because, I'm just looking for numbers to get up. We need some help. I'm going to show you these pastors are involved with government. They have government positions. They have friends with attorney generals, and they're able to do whatever they want to do. So if there's going to be accountability, it's going to have to come from us. It's not me. I need some kind of social media strategy. No, we really need to band together. It means something. It really means something. We need to band together. If you don't want to like and subscribe me, go to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, somebody. We need to band together. We need to get in a mindset that this is actually war. And the more support that we show the warriors who are on the front line, the louder our voices get, and some change can be made. I'm almost to the point of just looking to the world, because the church folk silly and sleep. And I don't know what's wrong with the bulk of us. How easy is it to look on the screen you have right now and say, like? It's not hard. And it's not because, once again, it's about media. It's about the fact that our voices really need to amplify, because this is sick. And there's a young man who was on, I think, TikTok, and he was bringing, or X, and he was bringing some light to this. He has on a MAGA hat. Does MAGA want to stand up? Since the church won't stand up, will MAGA stand up and help what's supposed to be the Church of Jesus Christ? Because it seems like the Church of Jesus Christ will hear the wickedness of their leaders and just sit there and stare at them. In fact, he's about to show these poor people in Faith Life Church up here applauding and clapping for this foolishness. but I'm gonna let him play the video. He did a great job in his exposing this, and he was able to get a lot of I guess it went kind of viral. So I'm glad it was able to do this, and I want to hear from the young man.
Faith Life Church is a family church. It is all about families and children. We started Faith Life Academy to give parents an alternative to the perverse and woke school system.
And they have an amazing homeschool community.
We are 100% for families and children. We stand absolutely against harassment and abuse. Abuse is directly against everything we believe in. Most of you know us, have known us for years.
Now listen closely.
And you know that we would never endorse such activity.
Listen very closely.
Please understand that I am not aware of, please understand this. I'm not aware of anyone currently on this staff that has been accused of being involved with any type of this activity. Please make sure you know that.
Notice he was intentional about saying currently on this staff. Pastor Gary, do you want to explain why you are legally allowed to make that statement now? Because there used to be a time where churches could get away with taking people who were accused of things, sexual misconduct things, and you move them off of your leadership and you put them somewhere else, and then you could get away with it. You can't get away with that anymore. That's not how any of this works anymore. I understand that you're trying to thread a very narrow needle to try to avoid accountability, but using the word currently tells us a lot.
Please know that Drenda and I, or our pastoral team, has not been accused of anything. Our goal is to carry out the work that God has assigned us to do, and in that process, law enforcement will deal with anyone that may be guilty of such activity, and the innocent will be exonerated. If you know of a case of abuse, please contact the authorities, or if you need pastoral care, please feel free to reach our pastoral team. We are the same church that we've always been, and we have always been here for you, and we will always be here for you. The pastoral team is always here for your pastoral needs as well. Amen.
Watch this.
Okay, put that aside now. Get into the word.
Put that aside now. Let's get in the word. Hee hee ha ha. Laughter. Your daughter is online saying, my brother SA'd me. You wicked, evil-hearted beast of a man with a nice smile and a soft voice, but a cold heart filled with hell. How dare you? And you're going to give that dry, stupid, corporate statement to a church with no word and nothing concerning the righteousness of God or discernment of the Spirit, but you're going to give a clean corporate statement to say, well, I addressed it. All right, that's out the way. How dare you? These pastors think we are dumb. Even to say, oh, well, I don't know anyone currently on our staff done something to somebody. That means you knew somebody formerly. You knew some wickedness was in your church. And at the end you say, well, we're the same church we've always been. That's the problem. That's the problem, Gary. Wicked wolf, you dog. That's the problem. You're the same church you always been that has harbored wickedness, and we're going to see later that no one's allowed to question your wicked, nasty, disgusting family. This is shameful. Come on now, church. Come on, man. We're going to keep going through this. This is a mirror of what I went through in my childhood and coming up into my early adulthood. That's why I'm so angry right now, because this is the exact thing. Nothing ever happens and they just keep rolling in the money. Nothing ever happens. The church never wakes up. The best y'all do is share little things on Reddit and talk junk on social media. Come on, Faith Life Church. Be better than us. Be better than my home church. Please, come on, man. Will somebody please hold their pastor accountable somewhere in the nation, man? Come on. I'm so frustrated. Come on, man. This is too obvious. This is too obvious. Please, saints. Uh, I'm gonna just keep going because I'm getting frustrated. This first young lady, there were three young ladies that Laura Lynn had on her program. Connie McVeigh, she was like the main whistleblower. You're gonna see her first. Nicole Berger, she is married to a her husband's in law enforcement, and he wanted to look and see if there was a victim. They found out there was a real victim. They went to an investigator. They said an investigation should be done. And then you found out because of political ties, they kept kicking the investigation around. These pastors are connected to government officials, so they're able to do whatever they want to do. And then the last young lady, uh, Emily Bright. Emily Bright, she worked for Faith Life Church, and as a result, she ended up seeing a lot of the same things. And she had a friend by the name of Olivia that confided into her. I'm going to show all three of these sisters, and once again, the full length is at Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. I want to just shout out Laurie Brown Causey, another day one that's here with us. I appreciate you. I want you to understand that I'm in a fight. I want you to like, not because of a social media thing, but because we're really in a war. This is ridiculous. We're in a war. We need you to like the video. If you have not subscribed, we need you to subscribe because our voices need to amplify. It's getting ridiculous. I'm tired of hearing about this stuff. I'm tired of people just uh, getting getting away with everything, and we need to fight. And Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, I think she comes on a little later, but she's always very thorough. But let's listen to the main whistleblower, Connie McVeigh. I just wanted to point out a couple things that each one said.
We moved in with a friend, and during that time, and we lived with a few people, so I don't want to give that away, but we lived with a few different people. And during that time, during one of the places that we stayed at, there was a teenage girl who began confiding in me that she was having private conversations with Tom Cassie in the middle of the night, late night, texting, phone calls. I thought, this is weird. But her parents were very, well, her mom specifically was very much like, oh my gosh, like this is the new Tom's wife. Like, I don't want to say her name, but Tom's wife, whatever. Tom's wife's name is Alexis. And so she was like, this is Ninny Alexis. Like, she's just like Alexis. This is Tom's new best friend. Because Tom's current best friend is going to be getting married. So like she's taken over that position of his best friend. And this girl at the time was 16 and Tom was 38. And I'm like, this is super weird. This is not okay.
Okay, so according to this whistleblower, Miss Connie McVeigh, Tom Cassie, which is Gary and Drenda's son, Tom Cassie is 38 years old and married, but he has this whole relationship with a 16-year-old, according to this whistleblower. I'm giving you the allegations. According to this whistleblower, this young lady was texting him. That's how it started out. Eventually, he was late night text, and then she started to text a young guy, and Tom Cassie got angry, was all belligerent with her because she was texting a young guy. And Connie was monitoring all this because she worked in the ministry, her and her husband. So she was like weirded out by all this. You're a young woman, you should be able to talk to a young man. But he, was all angry with her and this and the other. Eventually, Tom had to go out of town somewhere. And as the result, this 16-year-old, this kid, is trying to figure out, how can I get to Tom? How can I get to Tom? I need to speak with him. I need to speak with him because he was about to go out of town. And it said, this whistleblower said that the young girl ended up going to Tom's house from like 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. just to make sure she could meet Tom before he went out of town. Connie has wind of all of this, and she's like, wait a minute, this needs to stop. What is going on? the parents, especially the mother, is like, oh, this is Tom's new best friend. She's like a mini Alexis, which is Tom's actual wife. Brothers and sisters, before I even get into all the other craziness, it is amazing how little we heard about the wife in all of this. Because these magical, royal, holy families make sure that their children marry broken women who don't have a voice so that their child will be able to do any and everything, and that woman better not run her mouth, because if you want to be in my family, you honor the family above anything. And so these women have to sit there and suffer in silence. I've seen it. I grew up under this. This is the type of thing I went through in my home church and saw these girls marry into the first family and live miserably. Couldn't say nothing. And then you have these silly people in the church who are looking directly at the filth that the leadership is doing and talking about, oh, you just taking it out of proportion. No, it is what it is. This poor child own parents is not protecting her. And there's a lot of people who's going to look at these videos and y'all doing the same thing in your families. Stop being so naive. So eventually they try to go ahead and get something done. Will somebody do the right thing? And this is what happens when she tries to approach somebody for some help. Listen.
So I decided to go to leadership. So I went to Alicia Cassie. She was the youth leader at the time. And I went to her and told her about the situation. And she basically...
And could I just ask, is that a daughter, or how is she related?
Alicia Cassie is married to the pastor's other son, Tim.
Oh, to Tim Cassie. This is Alicia Cassie is the wife. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I went to her and she's like, oh, okay. So almost alluded like, okay, this makes sense. And she's like, I can't tell you anything else, but you're not wrong. And I believe you. And you're not crazy. And so thank you for telling us. We'll take care of it. Okay, great. I was like, great, I can move on from this. So then the following summer, a couple of months later, I found out he was leading the Vacation Bible School program called Summer Blast. So he was going to be over her and other teenagers and over all of these children that were coming. And I went and met with her again, and I was like, what is happening? Like, he shouldn't be allowed to be around her and all of these other teenagers. Like, this is wrong. And she told me, I've thrown all of the red flags I can throw, but the next thing you could do is go talk to the head pastors, but you have your husband's job to think about.
You can go talk to the head pastors, but you have your husband's job to think about. This is Alicia Cassie, a daughter-in-law who understands, I don't have no voice. I don't throw every red flag I can throw. I don't have no voice. This is a daughter-in-law who's married to the pastor's other son, Tim. You got Tom and Tim, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And Alicia Cassie is saying, I'm an in-law. I don't really have a voice. I've thrown every red flag I can throw. You can go to the head pastors, but you got your husband's job to think about. He was a controller. He worked directly for the pastor. He was a controller for the ministry. And unfortunately, the husband, he brought up some issues. Might have been about whatever was happening in the operations. But because he was bringing up issues of what's happening in the operations, what did they do? They drew up an NDA, and they included Connie and her children and their children in the NDA just to make sure everything's covered, because they knew Connie had other information. So in order to keep his job, he had to sign this NDA or whatever the case may be. But it wasn't about the situation. It was about other things. But because he brought up questions, what the young lady said, Connie said that Drenda started getting in the spirit. Oh, I can't stand this. Oh, this is what I grew up with. When you can't deal with somebody in real life, when you don't have a real argument for the filth and mess that you're doing in your ministry, now we want to, now we want to go in the spirit. We want to go in the ether somewhere, and Drenda, wicked self, doing all this divination, goes into the ether talking about a mortal wound. A mortal wound is coming to you. You have a choice to make. Well, I guess he didn't choose how they like, because what happened to him? They fired him. They fired him. This is wicked. This is wicked. I'm sick of this mess. Why don't we fight against wickedness? Please, saints of God, let's stand together. Eventually, and I'm gonna get into some other things, but eventually, what happens is Nicole reaches out, because things are going around. Nicole reaches out to Connie. They're going through Reddit. They're trying to make sure nobody's catfishing them. So Nicole reaches out to Connie, and Nicole's husband, once again, is in law enforcement. So he's trying to figure out what's going on with the case. He's trying to figure out if he can get something done. So he calls to figure out, if we can have an investigation. Sure enough, we can have an investigation, but let's listen to Nicole now.
And he called and found out that they are not taking the case because the attorney general and Drenda and Gary are friends with the attorney general, which makes no sense. He's not the one investigating the case. It would be an investigator, but and they said it's going to have to go back to Knox County, and then it'll be up to Knox County to decide what to do with it, what department to get involved next. But they didn't let Knox County know, because my husband called Knox County and he said, what? They're not taking it? They've not had that. So that's why we're kind of just, we're like, we got to take this to social, because they're going to try to block it at every pass. And these girls deserve an investigation.
I know there will be updates, but I just want you to understand that these big time pastors have big time political connections. Even down in Texas, where TD Jakes' family allegedly has manipulated the sheriffs and the judges in order to get a man's parental rights taken away from his own children. For TD Jakes' daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, she took her ex-husband's parental rights from his own children, and the Jakes family could do it. They had to pull, just like the other daughter who had a mother who needed some help with her daughter, and the other daughter gave the mother a farm as if it was a permission slip. These were people in need. They weren't well-to-do. They felt they were being helped. Gave her a permission slip. When she signed it, found out that she signed her parental rights away to the other daughter. This is the stuff that they've been able to hold up in court. Why? Because of political connections. Here's the same thing we're seeing. They said that the attorney general and Drenda and Gary are all friends. They're all buddies. When it went to the BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and they said because the attorney general and Gary and Drenda are all friends, we got to send it back to Knox County. And they didn't even inform Knox County that it needed to go back up there. So it came to the point where Nicole and Connie and everybody, Emily, all of these people, they say, you know what, we're going to have to go to social media because the government won't help us. We're going to have to go to social media because we can't get the church that we go to help us. We can't get the church that we fellowship in to help us. So we're going to have to go to social media in order to get any kind of help. That's why we're here, saints. That's why we're here, saints. We need your help in this. We need you to wake up. We need you to stand up. We need you to say, listen, we're going to band together. We're going to hit like. I promise you, hitting like don't do nothing to give me no money. I promise you that. I promise you that. I'm not saying this tonight because I need you to like me because I'm trying to be popular. I need you to, forget me. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson channel. Somebody, we got to show an amplification of our voice because these jokers have political ties. And we need to bring the fear of God to these false leaders to let them know we are not going to let you slide. I'm telling you, we need your help tonight. Give me 1 second here. I got some issues with a connection. I'm going to do this, but I want you to hear I want you to hear Emily for a second. This is very telling. We got one statement from Connie. We got one from Nicole. I want you to hear Emily Bright. Listen.
I was disappointed, but I really wasn't that surprised, to be honest, because it fit with what I saw in the youth group and as an employee. You don't question anybody with the last name of Cassie. You don't question anybody that they put in a position of authority. And if you do, you will be reprimanded. And if you do it twice, there is no third chance. You're out. They're very strong in that. You don't question them. It's a very narcissistic, abusive mentality that they have.
This is what I saw growing up in ministry. That's why I'm having problems tonight. Because when I was growing up, I remember addressing a certain issue to deal with the pastor's son. And I went to the pastor's wife and I said to her, you know, this, that, and the other happened. And this was your son. This was between her middle-aged married son, just like this story, her middle-aged married son and a teenager in the church, just like this story, a minor. And this woman, she said, well, you know, uh, we told our son the truth, and we're gonna have to make sure we handle this in prayer, and God know how to get this thing straight. I said, but wait a minute. If two consenting adults in this church did something together, there is a fight there. I mean, there's a rebuking, there's a sermon, there's a cutting. And I said, but here it is when it comes to your son. Why don't your son get the same thing that all these consenting adults get? And that woman, them demons rose up and she said, I'll leave it alone if I was you. I'll leave it alone if I was you. That's the same thing that I'm seeing here. The same mindset, the same spirit. Our family gonna do what they want to do. We gonna handle it the way we want to handle it. I dare you to question us. And I see about 2,000 of you looking at me right now. I know I'm not crazy. How many people across the nation afraid to talk to their pastors, afraid to tell the truth about their kids, afraid to say that the first lady got a nasty attitude, afraid to say that a pastor feel like he know everything, afraid to say that your children are disrespectful and don't talk to us the right way, afraid to tell the truth about the so-called first family. I am telling us we need to come out of this foolishness, stand up as the church, and overturn this spirit of abuse and manipulation that has come against us, and tell these devils, you're not going to do what you want to do anymore. We are rising up in the name of Jesus Christ to speak truth to power and to tell you that you will stop abusing God's people. You will stop mistreating God's people. We are done with this mindset. We are done with this type of spirit. I'm through with this. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Saints of God, once again, I appreciate everyone who supports this channel. If you would like to support, you can do so at PayPal, Unctionworship@gmail.com. You can also do Zelle, Unctionworship@gmail.com. You can also support us if you would like to write in or whatever the case may be, 7561 Oral Road, Suite B, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28213. We have these means of support. We appreciate everyone who's praying for us, writing into us, giving, and I appreciate Joy Norrit. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We got your letter. We feel your love. We appreciate also who's another letter we got. Praise God. We thank God. Ann from Oklahoma. We're just grateful. And here's another, Brenda Curtis. Brenda Curtis, we thank God for you. We appreciate everyone who's been a part of this work. I want y'all to look at this again so that we can discuss this part. Listen.
I was disappointed, but I really wasn't that surprised, to be honest, because it fit with what I saw in the youth group and as an employee. You don't question anybody with the last name of Cassie. You don't question anybody that they put in a position of authority. And if you do, you will be reprimanded. And if you do it twice, there is no third chance.
Don't the Bible say, be not lords over God's heritage, but be an example to the believer. We're not here to abuse the sheep. You don't have a right to say, don't question me. We're going to keep on moving. And it was so sad because she talked about her friend Olivia. She talked about her friend Olivia, and I wrote it down, and she said that Olivia had been trying to tell other people what she was going through because she was in the youth group, and they swept it under the rug. Thankfully, this came back up, and Olivia will be able to tell her own story. But in her statement, in Emily's statement, she said that Olivia just had to live with it. Come here, church. Think about all of the young women who really got touched, all of the young men who were really taken advantage of. And because of the power and the prestige of these leaders, they had to walk around for years in pain, years in depression, years. I looked at T.D. Jakes' organization under Bishop Sherman Williams. I think his name, Sherman Williams. Bishop T.D. Jakes is a co-prelate in his fellowship. And there was a young lady who stood up and she talked about how her dad took advantage of her. Listen, this is happening all over the nation. This happened in T.D. Jakes Fellowship. This young lady stood up and talked about how her dad took advantage of her. And then when the other men in the church found out that she was open, the other men took advantage of her whenever they could. It was one time they sent her to one event and a driver got her. Her parents sent her to another event and a deacon got her. And when she came back to her dad and said, Dad, please help me. This is T.D. Jakes' circle. This is T.D. Jakes' circle. When she came back to her father and said, Dad, please help me. When you send me to these church events, these men take advantage of me. The daddy said back to the little girl, so now you giving my stuff away? That was the response. The only one she could reach out to was a man that was abusing her already. Do you know how many children feel trapped? Do you know how many people feel trapped who are looking at you? Faith Church, Faith Life Church, let me find you. Faith Life Church, let me find you. Faith Life Church. Do you know how many people around the nation is looking at you and saying, will it work? I'm in pain. I'm hurting. I'm sitting here. I don't have no options. Will it work? Is somebody going to finally win against the Goliath? Is somebody going to finally win against the giant? Will it work? Will it work? Somebody's looking at you, Faith Life Church, and saying, will those people hold the leaders accountable, and will it work? Because if it can work for them, then maybe it can work for me. But if it don't work for them, I knew I was right to shut up. I knew I was right not to fight. I knew I was right to keep it to myself. And there are people who are going to be walking around 20, 30, 40 years in pain because nobody stood up. Please, Faith Life Church, stand up. Please stand up and tell the truth about these monsters. And to hear this pastor, Gary Cassie, to hear this pastor get up in front of his church, give a dry corporate statement that said nothing about what's going on, and then at the end of the statement, give a chuckle when your daughter is online saying that she was SA'd by her own brother, and the best thing you can do is give a corporate statement to a church and then chuckle at the end of it? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? What is wrong with you? I can't even believe this. How cold does your heart have to be? How evil does your heart have to be? How callous does your heart have to be? I don't care about nothing long as my image is in shape and as long as the money keeps plugging my ears. I can't hear nothing. The money's plugging my ears. I am begging you, Faith Life Church, stop supporting. Stop supporting until they clear it. You don't have to say, well, Pastor, I'm going to just leave your church. I want my name off the roll. No, but you have the right to say, Pastor, listen, you're supposed to be above reproach. Okay, I want a pastor that is according to the word, The Bible says that you're supposed to live above reproach. Right now, there is something reproaching this ministry terribly. So, Pastor, right now, we're going to take our tithes, our offering, our giving. We're going to put it in an account. We need you to clear this thing up. Once it's clear, okay, we'll come back. We'll be at service. We'll do what we have to do. Right now, we're going to fellowship somewhere where I feel my children are safe. You clear it up, Pastor. I'll put my giving in an account. We'll come back to you. But right now, clear it up, Pastor. Please, Faith Life Church, do something to hold the man accountable. And the only thing they understand is money. The only thing they understand is money. Oh, my goodness. I want to see if I can find the photo. If I still have it in here. I probably don't have it in here anymore. But I want you to recognize Perry Stone. Perry Stone, we whooped the wheels off of him because he jumped up for a whooping that nobody invited him to. He jumped up for a conversation that nobody invited him to. And when Perry Stone came in, Perry Stone had the audacity to attack people who are saying, hey, maybe we should treat people right. Maybe we shouldn't misappropriate funds. Maybe we shouldn't hurt these children. Perry Stone said that we're the problem. And when he jumped up to get that whooping that nobody called him for, we whooped the wheels off of him and he felt embarrassed. But guess what he got on the internet to talk about? Out of all the things we address, guess what he got on the internet to talk about? He got on the internet to address the money. That he was concerned, he alluded to rumors, he alluded to allegations. There's one thing he came on air to talk about, and he had to clarify the money. That man said, saints, oh my goodness. Do you know how silly this is? This man got in front of the camera and said, I make my money from baseball cards. Do you hear how stupid these pastors think you are? Gary go get in front of the church and say, I don't know anybody currently who's done some SA. How stupid do you think the congregation is? Perry Stone gets up talking about, I don't make money from my books. I don't make money from my conferences. Perry Stone, I don't make money from my church services. I don't make money from anything. I bought a new Jeep Wagoneer, but I bought that with baseball cards. Saints, I almost threw my phone. When I said, Perry Stone just looked at America and said, I make my money by playing with baseball cards. And then he turned off the comments. He put out the video. I looked at it this morning and I was taking my kids to school. I said, I'm about to light this foolish man up. I'm about to light him up. And by the time I dropped my kids off and looked back at that video, that man turned them comments off because he know he sound dumb. He know he sounds stupid. We got to stop allowing this stuff to slide. We need to stop allowing this stuff to slide, saints of God. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ that everyone looking at me tonight will say, you know what, I'm gonna hit the like button, not necessarily because I want some kind of media attention to this guy, but because these voices need to amplify. People need to know this is stupid. How dare Gary get up in front of Faith Life Church? I'm angry for those poor people clapping their hands. Done been indoctrinated so bad, they'll be clapping their hands. This man just got up in front of you and said, yeah, my son probably messed with my daughter, but yeah, I don't know anybody currently going through. How do you chuckle? And then the audience. That makes sense. The poor audience. That makes sense. I can't believe this, but I can believe this. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of our personal story after the at the ministry that I grew up in, after the pastor's son was outed for, getting up from beside his wife in the middle of the night to go perform certain acts on a minor that came to spend the night with his child. We exposed him. We went to the pastor, and the pastor rectified it. And then he said the devil was attacking his mind and the enemy trying to destroy him. And then the pastor's wife started walking around to all the men in the church and said, "Put your arms around my son. He need y'all. The devil trying to destroy his life. Y'all need to put your arms around him and encourage him to fight for his soul." And I said, yeah, I was somewhere in my late teens, early 20s. I'm 38 now. I want people to know I'm years away from my insanity, my hypnosis I was under, my brainwashing I was under. It was like an out-of-body experience. I see myself walking towards this adult pedophile to comfort him for doing something inappropriate with a minor. And I'm just now becoming a full adult myself. I'm not understanding. I grew up in this church. And I'm not understanding what's going on. Now that I'm looking back at it, I say, Lord, that's how broken the brain can be when you are trained in some foolishness. That's how broken the mind can be when you're indoctrinated in darkness. That's why I said when it comes to all this Daystar stuff, you talking about how can Jonathan and Suzy shake somebody's hand. Brothers and sisters, I've seen it. I lived it. A cult is a cult is a cult is a cult. And when you're in it, you're trying your best to shine light to it because you don't want to believe that it is a cult. But it comes to a place where you realize, wow, I was in a cult. I was in a cult. And y'all wonder why I am out here fighting so hard. It's because I live this, and I have a level of frustration you would not believe right now. Faith Life Church, please be better than my home church. Faith Life Church, please be better than my home church. Please do better than us. Hold your pastor accountable for his sins. I don't want no corporate statement. I don't want no nobody currently here is touching kids. He. I don't want that. No, pastor. This needs to be investigated. And if ain't nothing happened, then you ought to be all right. But if something happened and you knew about it and somebody tried to tell you about it, which if you go to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson's channel, you find out people tried to tell him about it. And if you knew about it and you covered it up, that explains why y'all won't get off a Daystar. And that also lets me know that you need to be in jail too. And I hope that the victim, I hope they have to change the church name to the victim name. I'm saying that to be funny. She probably don't want to name out in public, but I want her to sue so bad that they have to change the name to whatever victim baby church, baby victim church. I hope the screws in the church have to be named after her. I hope the lint in the church had to be named after her. I hope she get everything because she shouldn't have covered it up. This was a baby. I'm hurt. I'm disgusted, and I just pray that the church would band together. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. If you would like to support us, you can do so by PayPal or Zelle, Unctionworship@gmail.com. PayPal and Zelle, Unctionworship@gmail.com. You can also write in 7561 Oral Road, Suite B, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28213. 7561 Oral Road, Suite B, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28213. This has been one of the heaviest broadcasts I've had to do, and I can't even hold. It's about 2,000 of you here. My prayer is that you would do more than look. Just hit that like button. Help to amplify our voice. Make this algorithm push this out share, subscribe, make somebody listen. This ain't clean. This ain't nice. And the cry of these old guard people is, let me give you this. I'm out of here, but I got to address the Christian Illuminati, since Marcus Rogers failed to do it. I want to address the Christian Illuminati. They have a tactic. I'm about at the end, but they have a tactic in the Christian Illuminati. When they was making thousands of dollars from you and they was still doing wickedness to you, the mantra is, y'all need to preach the gospel. All these souls out here dying, and y'all want to be accusers of the brethren. Y'all want to talk junk about people, and all these souls need to be saved. Why don't you preach the gospel? They were making thousands off of you. Then they were making tens of thousands off of you. And we was like, wait a minute, but they touching the kids. Why don't you preach the gospel? Souls need to be saved. Then they were making hundreds of thousands off of you. You need to be out here reaching the souls. Look at the lost and the hurt. The people in your communities, your neighborhoods. You need to be reaching the souls. And then after they've making hundreds of thousands, they're making millions off of you. And we say, wait a minute, they're buying mansions. They're buying yachts off of y'all. They're taking their mistresses out on vacations off of your money. And what did the Christian Illuminati do? Hey, you need to preach the gospel. You need to tell people about the Lord. Why you worried about my diamond rings? Yeah, I got diamond rings. Why you worried about my Rolexes? I got 5 Rolexes. Yeah. Why you worried about my mansion? I got the biggest mansion in Louisiana. Then we're at a place now where there are $1 billion Daystars. And they're telling you, why don't you preach the gospel? Why all these souls need to be saved, and you up here trying to accuse the brother. How much more do they need to take before y'all realize this is a game? How much more do they need to take from you, including your kids, including your children? How much more do they need to take from you before you realize that they're just pulling on your emotions because they know you care about Jesus? They don't. They know you do. Lord, have mercy. Lord, wake them up, Lord. Wake them up, Jesus. Wake them up, Lord. And I'm not talking about wokeism. The Bible says, awake thou sleeper and rise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. That's what I'm talking about. Wake up. Wake up. Lord, have mercy. They don't care about Jesus. They know you do. So they pull the gospel of Jesus card to tell you that we're wasting our time while they are doing this, stuffing their ears with your money, stuffing their pockets with your money. Oh, my goodness. Lord, help these people wake up. I'm at the end of what I got to say. I pray that you all would, once again, hit the like button, subscribe, help to amplify our voice. Even if y'all want to cut that clip, that little tirade I just went on, if you want to make that clip and share that clip, do that. We got to do something. It's time to get active. We looking, with the numbers are going up, it's time to get active. I thank God for everyone here. Thank God for everyone who supported the Unction. This wasn't the cleanest presentation, and I have scriptures. But this thing is frustrating me, and I might come back later on this week. But other than that, I'm about to go join Julie Royce. I'll be joining Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. I'll be joining other voices from around the nation over at the Restore Conference in Phoenix, Arizona this week. So if you have not looked it up, the Restore Conference in Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to be there. Take a look, and if you can make it, please come out. I hope some kind of way I can meet Deborah and Marty Martinez, who's been really supporting this ministry and really helping us to exist. I got just about everything for Unctionworship. I mean, they've really pushed us forward, and I appreciate their help because I want a worship element to this platform. That's what we're working on. We're getting our material together, and we want to do a worship element because not only can we war on these broadcasts, we know how to war in the spirit too. We know how to sing to the Lord, to pray to the Lord, to speak the word, and to preach and proclaim the gospel. So we're going to have that element that we're working on. And I just want to thank all of our supporters. That special thanks to Marty and Deborah Martinez because they have really stepped up to make this something. And I'm grateful to them and everyone who has supported this platform from the beginning all the way to now. All the people we've helped send funds to, families we've helped, the communities we've helped, and fatherless, motherless, all widows. We did it together, and we're here. I appreciate everyone who has been here for this. Thank you for this. And we're going to keep working for the Lord. Once again, this was not the cleanest broadcast because I was so depleted after looking at it because it was like looking at my own story. But we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. And also, at the end, I would like to say that I am going to commit once again to Mondays, 7 p.m. Other days I might pop on. But Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be right here consistently, and I'm not going to let nothing stand in the way of that. My schedule's been crazy, but I'm going to commit to that and on time because you all have been too supportive and you're too precious for me not to have consistency in our programming. So thank you for your support. This has been the Unction. This is the place where we give the word of God and we're dependent on the Spirit of God to edify the people of God. This has to stop.